Okay, it's 6:05 and it looks like we have 12 attendees. Welcome everybody. Thank you for taking the time to join us tonight. And I'm Jessica Medina and I'm the Communications Program Manager for the City of Petaluma. I'm going to hand it over to Jeff Stutzman, our City Engineer, to kick the evening off for us.
Thank you. Thank you, Jessica. Thank you everybody for joining. We really appreciate everybody here. I see a lot of familiar names and faces, or I guess just names. So I'm excited to have you. My name is Jeff Stutzman, City Engineer for City of Petaluma, and I also have Kathy Kleinschmidt, our consultant for the Local Road Safety Plan from GHD. So tonight is kind of accumulation of events. As most of you are aware, you've probably been on our little local road safety plan journey, but we've done a lot of public outreach in the last couple of months, and we'll go over kind of where we've been and where we are. But tonight's kind of accumulation of events where we're at that point of collecting all that final public input and incorporating into that report. So we're kind of at that point where the report is ready in a draft form, and we want to present some of the data that we found and get a little bit more information. And this is that last step before we take it back to City Council. So we are planning on bringing the local road safety plan back to council July 18th. So, and all the information that we get tonight will be incorporated into that report. So with that, I want to hand it off to Kathy and let her just go through the report, some of the information we got, and then open it up for public input.
Okay, thank you, Jeff. Appreciate the introduction. My name is Kathy Kleinschmidt. I'll be presenting the local road safety plan for the City of Petaluma. Our agenda, we're going to go over the background, kind of the overall process, the guiding principles, as well as our working group. We'll also look at the collision analysis and our public engagement, the efforts we've done, as well as some of the results from the website. And then our next steps, how we're going to prioritize safety improvements and the tentative time frame. And then we'll have question and answer period afterwards. So the City of Petaluma's local road safety plan will complement the city's goals and priorities plan. And their objective is to maintain and enhance public safety and prepare for emergencies and disasters through crime and fire prevention and traffic safety. There's some goals in there too that are for traffic safety, and one is improve traffic safety through proactive education and engineering and enforcement strategies. So not only does this plan look at the engineering countermeasures, but we also get into the education, enforcement, as well as emergency response. Another goal of this goals and priorities is to implement a City Vision Zero plan with a focus on pedestrian and cyclist safety with improvements to uncontrolled crosswalks, curb ramps, sidewalk, and bicycle infrastructure. We notice a lot of the severe injury and fatal type collisions are occurring with pedestrians to vehicles, as well as cycle to vehicle collisions. So we want to mitigate those. So the overall purpose is to identify roadway safety concerns. So we did do a deep dive in the collision analysis past 5 years. We also want to recommend safety improvements that complement the existing efforts the City of Petaluma is doing. The city is doing already a lot of great safety improvements. So some of these areas that we might be popping in our data might already have countermeasures that are being implemented. So Jeff will go over that later in the presentation as well. And the overall goal of this local road safety plan is it's now a requirement for highway safety improvement program funding. So Caltrans is requiring that each agency has an adopted plan to apply for the HSIP grant. That's the Highway Safety Improvement Program. It also will identify other funding mechanisms in this plan. And some of those can be ATP, the Active Transportation Program, as well as the OBAG, the One Bay Area Grant. Here is the process wheel of the local road safety plan. Essentially, you establish a leadership that kind of guides the plan development, and we engage the city, and we'll go over the stakeholder working group that kind of had a meeting, and we discussed all of the different priorities, as well as we looked at the safety data, determined emphasis areas. different strategies to incorporate, as well as this plan will be evaluated and updated typically on a 5-year cycle. So our stakeholder working group consisted of many folks from the city of Petaluma, including Jeff is the project manager as a city engineer, as well as we've got folks from economic development, planning, public relations, also have the police department engaged in this plan, and the fire department and the transit department. We also engaged the jurisdictional roadway partners, because there are some roadways in Petaluma that are under Caltrans jurisdiction. That's part of those is Lakeville Highway, State Route 116. Part of that is in Caltrans, as well as the 101 interchange. County of Sonoma was also engaged, Sonoma County Transportation Authority, Sonoma County Bicycle Coalition, and a lot of your local schools, to include Santa Rosa Junior College, Old Adobe, Juan and Wilmer, the Petaluma City Schools in Liberty, and Cinnabar. I don't know if I named all those schools, but we did engage all the schools, and we'll get into some of the results we got from that engagement. As well as I want to show that we are complementing not only the engineering countermeasures that feed into HSIP, but we're also looking at other countermeasures as far as additional enforcement, education and educating drivers with roadway safety, emerging technologies, how to get more information to the driveway through some of these advanced systems, and emergency response. So we did get some feedback from the local schools. Corona Creek School provided us some feedback about the desire to have the continuous sidewalk along Riesling Road. Currently it ends at Fieldstone, and a lot of pedestrians are having to walk in the street to and from school, as well as looking at crossing enhancements at Hartman and Quarry. And then also looking at adding a crosswalk at York Way and Eli Road. And then, you know, there's different improvements with RFBs that are just north of that intersection that have been that are implemented. As well as we got some feedback from Petaluma City Schools in regards to bike lanes, looking at improving the neighborhood crossings, as well as Sonoma Mountain Parkway and Eli, Ellis and Washington, and the area around Skate Park and the city pool, and areas around Kenilworth and Casa. So the plan does have these guiding principles that are overall stating what the purpose is. The mission is to ensure all people have the transportation choice to walk, bike, drive, and use public transit while working to achieve 0 fatalities and no life-altering injuries on the City of Petaluma roadways, because every person in our community matters. So this is complementing a Vision Zero mission. And how we're going to get there is we're going to provide a safe, sustainable, and equitable multimodal transportation system for all users of the public roadways in the City of Petaluma. And then the overall goals, we've got a little bit more detail in the plan. These are just high level, what we were looking at to accomplish. We want to maintain an accurate collision database, as well as how can we reduce those multimodal collisions, the bike to vehicle collision, pedestrian to vehicle collisions, you know, looking at how to improve those type of accommodations, as well as improving safety and accessibility for vulnerable road users, and improving the safety around the schools with improved crossings, multimodal type accommodations. We did notice there was a lot of improper turning related collisions violation. So we're looking at how we can improve safety by additional engineering countermeasures and enforcement. And then overall goal of this plan is to prioritize and implement these improvements. We are going through the process where we're identifying all the different locations, and I'll get through that process coming up, but we're looking at collision analysis as well as public comments, and we're trying to prioritize and implement those improvements. And then another goal of this plan is to reduce speeding through speed management, additional enforcement, and we want to regularly engage with the community throughout the development of this plan and getting feedback. So I'm going to turn it over to Jeff because this, as I mentioned, the city is doing a lot of existing and also planned safety efforts throughout the city. And so our 5-year window might not, be representative of some of the currently, planned or installed safety improvements. So Jeff is going to talk about some of the safety improvements that are already in the works with the city of Petaluma.
Thanks, Kathy. So here's a list of probably just the summary of some of the really good projects that we have in our CIP and that we're working on. I won't go through them all, but some of the ones that really stand out are like the Petaluma Boulevard South Road Diet. That one's under construction. They're going to start paving next week, and it's got a lot of great sidewalk gap closures, class 4 bike lanes, RFBs, all those pedestrian bike facilities that we've been looking for. The other really good one that is going on too is a traffic signal modification, which is kind of the city's program for traffic signals. It's more of a modernization of it, but we've been using a lot of the money for safety improvements. So we made safety improvements at Eli and Snow Mountain Parkway. Some of the complaints that we got about from the school districts about that crossing. So we're able to make a lot of those safety improvements at the signals with that project. And the other real big one is the traffic calming and the bike boulevard, which are newer ones for the city, and they've been really received well. The bike boulevard we're working on 5th Street, and it's just kind of complements the Road Diet project. So just really good projects we have. And finally, just the last two that show up, the RFB and the guardrail installation, that was awarded by the HSIP, the Highway Safety Improvement Grant, Cycle 9. So that was just an example project where this local road safety plan kind of ultimately leads us to being able to apply for those grants to do all the safety funding. So all good, great projects that we have going on.
Great, thanks, Jeff. Okay, getting into the collision analysis, the past 5 years from 2016 to 2020 was evaluated, and you can start to see where the hot spots are. This is where there's a collision density, there's a higher frequency at these locations, and you can see a hot spot, particularly at Washington and McDowell, as well as Lakeville and Washington. You've also got one at Petaluma and Washington. And then there's one around D Street in Petaluma, as well as D Street and Lakeville. We've also got some up here at Redwood Way, and then various ones throughout Lakeville Highway here, including Eli Boulevard. So this is showing you where you're having a larger concentration of collisions within the city. But we also want to look at the severity, the collision severity, because we really want to focus on the fatal and severe injury and how to mitigate those type of collisions. So it's really nice to see the trend between the years, because through the safety efforts the city has been implementing, you can see the collisions are trending downward. And you've got 18 fatals in the 5-year period and 54 severe injuries. One thing to note is in 2020, you did have less collisions. Part of that's the COVID-19 pandemic, but you're still having some higher fatal and severe injury collisions. So we're going to focus on those as well and see where those are occurring in the plan. So here is the location of the fatal and severe injury locations. The majority of these higher severity collisions were between pedestrians and vehicles. And I've got another slide to kind of show where those were occurring. And then second, it was vehicle to vehicle, followed by bicycle to vehicle. So this is showing you the various corridors along the city that we really want to focus the efforts on. The Lakeville Highway, going down in your downtown, on Washington, as well as McDowell. These are some corridors that are really starting to pop, and Eli Boulevard. So in the plan, it does evaluate that. And this is actually showing where these are located to the schools and the transit stops as well. So looking at which ones were pedestrian to vehicle collisions by severity, you can start to see a lot of those fatal and severe injuries were involving a pedestrian. So we need to look at how we can improve the pedestrian accommodations and where we're having those frequencies of those type of collisions at. And you start seeing, you know, similar trends along those corridors at McDowell, as well as Washington, and then Petaluma Boulevard. The bicycle to vehicle collisions are also showing a similar trend. We had 117 of those in the past 5 years. And they're also following those main corridors. So these are, you know, the main bicycle routes are along Washington, as well as going into your downtown. There's some on Petaluma and the various streets there, as well as some over there by the schools on Eli Boulevard and Sonoma Mountain Parkway. So from our collision analysis, we did identify priority locations, and we will also look at what the city is doing, because they might have already mitigated some of these. But we looked at the relative severity. So we looked at, you know, what locations have higher severity, collision severity, fatal, severe injury type collisions, or any sort of injury collisions, as well as the number of collisions. And you can start to see different locations are popping and intersections. You know, at Eli, the one at Caulfield was popping there, as well as Lombardi Avenue and McDowell, but then there's several, the Professional Drive and McDowell was popping as an intersection at Petaluma and Sycamore, and then down into the downtown off Washington Street. That was also popping there. So we're looking at these corridors as well as these locations, as well as State Route 116. These circles are showing Caltrans jurisdiction versus the city jurisdiction as well. So I just want to also put the caveat in that we didn't look at any US 101 mainline collisions, because those are free flowing. We only looked at the interface between the local streets and the interchanges, as well as the at-grade state highways. Okay, so our public website is live. Please visit it if you haven't. Here is the link. We have really gotten a lot of good comments, and really appreciate all those that have gone to the website and provided your comments. We do have an interactive map where you can pinpoint your concerns. So far, we have 232 comments as of yesterday, but the comments are still coming in. So I appreciate everyone taking the time to leave a comment, as well as we've had 89 survey responses. The website is due to close to comments on June 15th. But there will be opportunities with the draft report to also make comments. And this is just kind of showing you all the interactive map comments we've gotten since June 6th. As I mentioned, we've got more since then, and then you can see the number. So certain people either liked or agreed with that suggestion. We can start to see those type of relationships with these comments. A lot of different suggestions, from anything from, you know, evaluating an intersection for conversion to a roundabout, to how to implement, you know, some speed management, looking at how to enhance the pedestrian crossings, installing sidewalk, bike lanes, repair pavement, as well as looking at how to, you know, improve safety with other countermeasures such as signage and improving intersection sight distance. This is so far the results from the first question asked in the survey, and the majority of people say people are driving too fast. So we do want to look at how we can help to mitigate that with enforcement, as well as if there's any traffic calming type countermeasures that can be implemented. And this actually, the other was people's writing in suggestions, and we've got all those down as well. And then what the city should focus on to reduce traffic collisions, the number one was take measures to reduce speeding. So wanting more enforcement and modification, so that goes hand in hand. The second most popular was making physical improvements location by location. And so far on the third question, the most effective way the city can reduce collisions is by making physical changes to the streets and intersections. So people want to see more engineering improvements to the roadways and getting those incorporated. So there are also ways to write in your safety concerns, and here is just a snippet of some of the ones we've received. Vision Zero, looking at enforcement for speeding, DUIs, bike lanes, sidewalk, looking at how to increase the visibility at intersections and overall safety. So next steps, we are prioritizing the safety improvements. We're looking at the collision analysis that I kind of went over, as well as public comments. And then I'm looking at what the city has done and has planned, because some of these, as I mentioned, might have already been mitigated. And then we're putting this together in the plan and prioritizing different countermeasures for implementation. But tonight we'd like to get some feedback from you. So I do have some polls, and we're going to have those go up, but there's going to be one on pedestrian safety improvements, where we want you to select your top 3. What would you like to see more of? Enhanced crossing improvements at unsignalized intersections or mid-block crossings, or more crossing improvements at signalized intersections? Or sidewalk gap closures, wider sidewalks, or looking at more multi-use paths. And then the bicycle safety improvements. We've got marked bike lanes, buffered bike lanes, or protected bike lanes where they have a physical separation. Could be anything from a delineator to a curb type thing, or a parked car, as well as bike boxes at the intersections to give the bicyclist priority, or those green conflict markings for those mixing zones. So Jessica, do you want me to go over the different polls and then you put them up?
Yeah, let me see how. Okay, I'm gonna launch these polls. Okay, so it looks like, okay, it looks like we've started.
Okay.
Oh, it's all one thing. So
okay.
If our attendees would just scroll through and give answers to the polls, I think it's going to update in real time for us as we're watching it. And I'll give, how much time would you like to give everybody to fill out all of the questions, Catherine? Like 7 minutes, 5 minutes?
Yeah, whatever you recommend. I think, yeah, depending on, I guess 5 minutes should be probably appropriate depending on the response. So just select your top 3 for pedestrian, bicycle, as well as intersection improvements. And then the last question is for non-engineering improvements. We'd like to see your top 4.
And I just want to make sure, is everybody in the audience seeing the poll? Oh, okay. Now people are starting to vote. Great. Thank you. And if anybody's having trouble, please raise your hand.
Do you want me to stop share so you can show the results better, or?
Well, I'm wondering how I show the results. I'm sorry, I'm sort of new to this polling. Maybe when I end the poll, the results will show.
Yeah, we're going to document this all in the plan. Oh, we've got a hand raised.
Yeah, I see Sheila.
Yeah,
Sheila,
I could not submit mine.
Okay.
Sure.
Let me see.
I might be the only one. It might be my iPad or something.
Oh, maybe it's the iPad. Is anybody else? It looks like Abigail's raising her hand also. Abigail, how's it going for you?
We can respond. We're just curious as to what a sidewalk gap is.
Okay, Sheila, we'll work on getting this fixed for you. And if it doesn't work, maybe you can just email your answers to us. Or Kathy, maybe we can put this on the website.
Yeah, and I can clarify. A sidewalk gap is a discontinuous sidewalk. So where you kind of like how by Corona School, they have a sidewalk gap. They have sidewalk that ends and then it doesn't continue. So focusing on having continuous sidewalks along the streets.
know that one.
Okay, it looks like 80% of you have voted so far, 12 out of 15 people. So we'll give it a couple more minutes. See if anybody else wants to contribute. All right. So it looks like we have 87% voted, and Sheila, I'm sorry you were having trouble, but the poll will be available on the website, so you can contribute your feedback there. And I'm going to end the poll. Now, can everybody see the results?
No.
Oh, share result. Here we go. How about now?
Yeah. Oh, did I close it? Read it. Sorry, something. I closed it, so I can't find it now. Hold on.
Okay. Can one of the attendees maybe raise your hand and let me know if you're seeing the results?
Jeff, are
Okay.
you able to read the results from the poll?
Yeah, I can do that.
Okay.
Okay.
For number one, the pedestrian safety improvements, the top three look like they are crossing improvements at signalized intersection as number one. And then multi-use path was number two. And then we had for the third one, kind of a split of 8 was the enhanced crossing improvements at unsignalized intersections and sidewalk gap closures.
Okay.
And
then down to number 2.
number 2 is a bicycle safety improvements. The top 2 were buffered bike lanes and protected bike lanes, followed by the green conflict markings for the for vehicles to bicycles in the mixing zone.
Okay.
And then number 3, intersection improvements. The top 3 are bicycle improvements, pedestrian improvements, and traffic control changes. For example, all-way stops or roundabouts. And then the final question, the non-engineering improvements. The top 4 were speed management, distracted driving, driving under influence, and driver education, in that order.
Great.
Great. Good stuff. Appreciate everyone taking the time to do that. And I finally found the button for the poll, so I found it again, but thank you, Jeff. I'm going to go back to sharing my screen to close it out. The tentative timeframe where we're at, so we kind of kicked it off back in, it kicked it off back in 2021, but this is just a new timeline here where we started back in 2022, and then the stakeholder working group meeting happened in May 19th. Today, we're doing our community engagement meeting, as well as we're looking at, as Jeff mentioned, getting the draft all put together and finalized so we can go to council in July. So we would appreciate if you had any additional comments to provide them now or on our website. We really look forward to hearing from you and providing any additional comments. And I'm going to actually pass it back to Jeff as well, if you had any additional comments.
No, the only thing that I would say is our ultimate goal and kind of our goal and schedule is trying to meet the Highway Safety Improvement Grant deadline. So grants are due September 10th for us. So and we need this grant, this local road safety report. So by being able to go to council in July, it gives us enough opportunity to get our grant application together and submit it to the state. And with that, I mean, I think you're done with the presentation, Kathy, so we can open it up to public comment.
All right, great. Thank you, Kathy. Thank you, Jeff. And thank you everybody who is attending tonight. I know it's no small feat to take time out of your evening, and we really appreciate it and appreciate your feedback. So that said, normally at public meetings, you may have seen a clock put up when we allow public comment. We're not going to do a clock tonight just because this is more of a workshop format and we want it to be more collaborative. But I will ask, just in the interest of time, to try and keep your answers to 2 minutes or less if you're able to. I know we all have, you know, busy lives we want to get back to after this, and we definitely want to hear what you want to say, but just we like to keep brevity in mind. I'll be keeping like a really loose eye on the clock, and if you're going on for 10 minutes or something, I might interrupt you, but otherwise we look forward to hearing from everybody. So thank you. And if you just raise your hand, I will call on you and then we can go through. All right, first I see Pete Gang.
Thank you. I will be very brief. I really appreciate this effort, and I just wanted to comment specifically on Vision Zero and traffic calming. And the city just adopted the county's Vision Zero action plan, and I just wanted everybody to acknowledge and keep in the front of their minds that calls for 0 fatalities and serious collisions by 2030. It also calls out unsafe speed as the leading single cause of fatalities and serious collisions. Implicit in that is, if we are serious about achieving those Vision Zero goals, we have to reduce vehicle speed. And that brings to mind traffic calming. And I think you found in the polls that the overwhelming majority of the public who responded to the polls would like to see reduced traffic speeds. And we just need to do this through, I guess, what you're calling enhanced roadway enhancements, things like narrower traffic lanes and bulb outs and gateways and street art and those kind of things. I'll close with Chuck Marone's words: if you need a sign to tell people to slow down, you designed your street wrong. I'll leave it at that. Thank you.
Thank you, Pete. Okay. Does anybody else have any feedback, comment, questions? Oh, let's see. Oh, now we got a few more. Okay, here they come. All right, I have Petaluma resident.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. Hi. So I reached out last week to Jeff and Kathy regarding my concern about commercial truck traffic in Petaluma, specifically on the west side. There is a official city of Petaluma truck route map for use of commercial trucks over 5 tons. Specifically, I envision semi-trucks pulling large trailers. And here on the west side, I acknowledge there is a thriving industry here, which I support, but there is a designated truck route map, and it's not being used. Where it's being used, but other streets are being used. And specifically, some of the streets that are being used by these, full-blown semi-trucks that should be belong on the interstate are traveling in front of elementary and junior high schools. And for example, Petaluma Junior High School on Bantam Way between Western Avenue and Bodega Avenue has limited sidewalks. I know it's on the city-county border, but if you survey that section of that street or way, approximately 50% of that road has sidewalks for pedestrians right in front of a school where local pedestrians are using it for, walking their dogs and walking and jogging, as well as the school kids, walking and biking to school. And I just, there was a request submitted to post signs limiting commercial trucks over 5 tons from using Bantam Way. But I just want to know what you're going to do to enforce it. And also, I did not hear back from you regarding my follow-up email if that signage with that image of a commercial truck with the red line going across it would be included in your signage. And I was wondering if you could respond to that today.
Yeah, so as you know, we have a work order out for the 5-ton limit sign, and we are looking into the sign that has a truck and no sign. We just wanted to make sure that if we do that, it's consistent elsewhere in town. So we're looking at other areas and what signs are used, so we are consistent in what we use. As far as enforcement, and our resolution is that the 5-ton
Hey,
sign.
did you mean you guys are on your way back, or you're just driving to somewhere else?
No, I think we are.
Oops, sorry. Hey, Ingrid.
Yeah, I guess there's a Kia on the way home.
Ingrid?
Yeah.
Hold on one second.
And just head home from there.
Oh, let me see.
Sorry.
Oh, there we go. Okay. Sorry, guys.
So yeah, we are looking into it. We just, like I said, I want to be consistent in what we do in town, so everyone knows what every sign means. So short answer is yes.
I don't know if you live in Petaluma or not, Jeff, and you don't need to disclose that now, but I do. And I walk frequently in the downtown. And I'll tell you, for the most part, if you take a survey of the signs limiting truck traffic, specifically for 3 tons and over, there's a more visual sign associated with that verbiage sign. And I would, that is more common, at least here on the west side of town. For example, like in front of Petaluma High School. Which also leads me to ask, the chapter 11 of the administrative code, it seems like it changed. Back in 2012, there was a section that restricted 3 tons and over for specific streets. And I think it was section 11.52.070. And it seems like that section has been revised. Can you confirm that?
I can't off the top of my head confirm that. I can definitely reach out to our police department and see if they know anything and reach back out to you if you like. I have your contact, so I could definitely, I'm not familiar with the 3-ton. 5-ton is more standard, and I know the map went to council and was approved on resolution 2009. So that may have been when it got revised out. I'm not sure, but I can find out for you.
Yeah. Well, I'll just have one more comment and I'll leave it at that. It's just throughout the day, Bantam Way is used by large semi trucks. And I think it's an inappropriate use of that road. And I just suggest if come out here during the middle of the day for an hour and witness it for yourself. But it is all day long. And even when the kids are out there working in the lawn area, that landscaped area, which is some project the school has, you have full-blown semi trucks driving by. And I think that's totally inappropriate. But that's my personal opinion, but it's a violation of your truck route map. And I just hear once again, all I'm asking is that the local truck drivers just abide by the designated truck route map. And to my understanding, Liberty Street behind Petaluma Market was in it. That's not part of the truck route map, but that was an added truck route specifically for some of the local industry to use. And I think if you walk across or drive across Liberty Street, it's a short drive, and there are sidewalks and there are no schools. Semi trucks and schools don't mix. And I'll just leave it at that. Thank you for listening.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Next, we have Nathan S.
Hello. I just had a quick question and I really appreciated the presentation. What do you anticipate the city will do with the local road safety plan? And does the plan contain individual project recommendations that they can act on, or is it more of a higher level plan?
I'll take it, Kathy. Kind of everything. It does have project recommendations. So the idea is that it would propose a certain amount of projects for kind of each emphasis area. In the event that the grant comes out, we would have kind of project ready grants to bid on. So if it's one of the top intersections is Petaluma Boulevard South and D, there might be some recommendations for, say, traffic calming or signal improvements to improve that kind of as countermeasures, and that could be turned around and used for the upcoming grants. And the other piece of it is what is things going to be used for? It's kind of limitless, I think, because it could be used in all different fashions. It could be used as a part of our pavement management program, as one of the kind of spokes in the wheel of determining what projects we look at for paving. We can use it as identify streets that have known safety issues and prioritize paving on those. It could also be used in development. If there's a development on a street that we know there's safety improvements, we can condition some of those. So it kind of falls into all our CIP projects as just a great reference. And with the chart that Kathy showed where it had all the people's comments put in, I forget how many there were, but it's a great sheet for having kind of what the residents of this town really see where the issues are. So if we are doing paving and we see that a lot of people are having problems at, say, South Point, that's a trigger for us to, well, we're paving, let's do something, let's improve the striping, or let's narrow the lanes, let's get bike lanes in there. So I just see this as limitless potential. So we really kind of use it in everything that we do.
Great, thanks, Jeff. And then one follow-up I had is, how does this safety plan relate to the quick build process that's being worked on by the city for neighbors requesting projects be built? Are they going to be used in tandem?
I would say it's used in tandem. I mean, obviously, we're still kind of infancy stages of the local road safety plan and the quick build. But again, if there are a lot of incidents at that one location in a residential area where we see a heat map, obviously that's a indicator that we need to do something. Quick build is one of those great opportunities we have to get those quick improvements to help resolve issues. I mean, the one that I worked on was the one at Eli and Caulfield, where it was just a simple all-way stop, and we did that quick build where we were just do bulb outs and striping and signage, and it's really helped. So yes, in tandem.
Great, thanks a lot for your time.
Okay, thank you, Nathan. Abigail Smith, let me allow you to talk. Okay.
So first of all, full disclosure, there's a few of us neighbors here together sharing a screen. So I'll share my input and I'll pass it on. First of all, just following up on the paving comment, we have noticed that some of the streets that have been recently paved actually result in increased traffic. So not sure if that's something that is under consideration, but certainly the recent street by the high school, and granted it's the high school and it's just about graduation, but we are seeing an increase in speed along Fair Street where it has been repaved. So traffic calming measures there might want to be considered. The other observation is, speaking of high school students and to be honest, middle school students, it would be really good to get input I know you got some input from the administrators, but get some input actually from the students who walk along Western, who walk along Fair, who walk along Webster to Western, where they're dodging cars every single day, looking 5 times and then running across because they're concerned about vehicle collisions. So I'm not sure what options you have for reaching out to the students. Obviously, it's the end of the school year, so probably not ideal, but just a comment. And then the last comment is particularly on the west side, in certain neighborhoods, we've got units with multiple residents, many of them elderly. When we talked to them about the survey and the interactive map, they were completely overwhelmed by trying to navigate a map. And so if there's any way of notifying folks that there's an opportunity to participate and give feedback, these are the people who are walking our streets. They're the people who are, 60 plus, who are walking down to town to get their groceries, who are really not even car dependent. And I'm not sure that they're being heard. So that's the comment here. I think that's it for the neighbors right now. They're indicating that represents what we had to share. Thanks. And thank you for doing this. Thank you for seeking the funds and paying attention to the pedestrians, the bikers, and the car vehicles. Thanks.
Great. Thank you, Abigail. Okay, next we have Carrie Fugit. Carrie?
Hi there, can you hear me?
Yes.
Great. Again, I want to echo the sentiments of gratitude to you for doing this engagement. I've enjoyed the interactive map online. And similar to some of the comments around engagement, I would love to get a sense of what is being done to engage folks who are most impacted by traffic collisions. I know the Vision Zero plan was referenced, and in that it noted that African-American children are twice as likely to be killed while walking than white children, and Latinos are 1.4 times as much. And seniors, as mentioned by the prior speaker, are nearly twice as likely to be killed while walking as people under 25. The unhoused community as well, who live in the most dangerous conditions near the roads. These are some of the core communities that I would love to understand how they're being engaged in ways that they can give feedback into this. I especially the Spanish speaking, I noticed there wasn't translation available this evening, and I'd love to understand how those communities who are most impacted by this are getting their voice heard and where these improvements are prioritized. Thank you.
Thanks, Carrie. Okay. So that's a great question, Carrie. Thank you. We are, as a city, making a large effort to make all of our communications available in Spanish as well as English. I think you make a really good point that it would have been nice to have this meeting translated tonight. And I think moving forward, we will look to do that. Kathy or Jeff or Ingrid, does anybody have input on how we're approaching outreach to other populations, or if we have plans to do so moving forward?
I can the website that we have, it can be translated to any language, but we can, look at, there's a certain group that's in your community, we can reach out to them. We will be looking at the disadvantaged areas and our priority locations and making sure we're kind of equitably applying those countermeasures.
And additionally, Carrie, so we send out a community update email each week. Some of you may receive it, and we also post to social media. We've recently launched Spanish language Instagram and Facebook channels after engaging with our Latinx community and hearing that they felt that would be a great way to receive information from us. And so all the information that we put out in our community update emails and on our social media channels, we translate to Spanish. It's available on our social channels and on our website in Spanish each week. So the outreach we've done for this meeting and for the survey and the new website and everything has been in Spanish as well as English. But I think you bring up a really good point about our unhoused population and looking at ways that we can engage them around these topics. So I appreciate that. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And I also wanted to share that I'm actively working on that as well, in trying to work with the city on that. So I would love to get in contact to collaborate and support your efforts.
Yeah, that sounds great. I think if you want to reach me directly, you can email jmedina@cityofpetaluma.org, and I'd be happy to talk about that. So thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Next we have Derek Douglas Hecker.
Hello, thank you for holding this meeting this evening and listening to our input and comments and questions. It's great. I'm wondering, I thought I heard a statement about modernizing some of the traffic infrastructure in town, and I'm wondering if it's possible to have more information about that. And the reason why I'm asking is because there's been a few group rides that I've done recently where we're wanting to turn left, say to get onto something like Petaluma Boulevard, but there's no bike sensors. So you have a bunch of cyclists sitting out in the middle of traffic, and there's no way for us to get a right of way to get, to go to where we want to go. Or we have a number of intersections where 3 out of the 4 conflict zones have bike buttons, but one of them doesn't. And it's like bike buttons aren't all that great either, because you kind of have to pull over, press a button, or drive up on a sidewalk to press the button and then re-enter the roadway. So if we are going to modernize our infrastructure, what types of things are we thinking about?
Yeah, so part of our modernization, it's almost everything related to signals, because our signals are very old and they haven't seen much work on them in the last several years. So some of the work that we've done is on as part of the North McDowell Complete Streets project, like in advance of that project. We've installed new controllers. So our controllers are very old. They're 20 years old. So you can imagine trying to use your computer that's 20 years old. So we're updating those. At the same time, we're installing new video detection cameras. So on McDowell, we've started with, it's a radar/video. So it's video for the stop bar detection, and then it's radar for the advance. So it gives us like all the benefits in one package for being able to use it for traffic signals and detection. The benefit of it, it has great bicycle detection zones. So when we install those, which we have done on McDowell, Snowmount Parkway, and then Petaluma Boulevard South, you don't need those bike buttons anymore. They're just a thing of a past. It's almost like putting in a vehicle call by pushing a button. So now with the new cameras, when you ride up, it detects you in a zone and it goes. So you don't need to have a steel frame anymore. You can have whatever bike you want, and it'll detect you. And I've looked at them a lot and played around with them, and they do great detection. I don't think there's been time that they haven't. So that's the future, is moving away from the old loops and going to the video and the radar, as well as we're upgrading our communications to all our signals so we can communicate back to our central management system and start pulling all that valuable data that people are driving, the counts, how fast people are going, so we can start making adjustments on the fly for coordination and better understand when the peaks are so we can adjust our signal timing.
Cool. Thank you so much, Jeff.
You're welcome.
Okay, thanks, Derek. Next, we have Ben Peters. Let me allow you to talk. Okay, Ben, go ahead.
Okay, great. Thank you all so much for this. Looking forward to putting out the message on the draft plan and the June 15th closed for comments. Quick question on the actual data itself on the city page, the collision density map. It looks like the data is still coming soon. So I was wondering where to get that data. And then I was also curious if that data included county data or data outside of the city limits. Because one of the areas I'd like to include in the priority list is outside of city limits. That's Old Adobe Road by the actual old Adobe. Just because there isn't really a great way to cross there, either as a car or a bike or a pedestrian. And so we are working on our bike and ped infrastructure in the city to get pretty close to that point. And so we should prioritize making that final crossing safe across Old Adobe. And then the related section is the eventual entrance to Lafferty Ranch, right? So it's been a long time coming to get there, but I think we need to make sure that Lafferty Ranch access is prioritized for bike and pedestrians. The last comment I'd like to make goes back to the stakeholder working group section. So it looks like there's a section of the city's website that calls for that, but the actual information on those groups is not posted there. And I think it would be valuable to have a central place for where those various stakeholder groups have public meetings so that there be more cross collaboration between those groups, such as the Sonoma County Transit meetings, etc. Thanks.
Okay, thanks, Ben. Next, we have Veronica O. Veronica?
Hi, good evening. Thank you so much. I just wanted to echo the comments of Pete Gang about traffic calming. And also, I wanted to highlight Keokuk as a problem area. It is being used both as a truck route and a place for excessive speeding. Since the striping has happened, and I don't know what those dots are called, but the noise levels on the street have increased fundamentally since the striping and the paving has happened. So now we have an issue because we have a straight line for people to ride very fast. And I've noticed it as a resident, but it has also come up in other community meetings and residents. There was an accident in February where a pedestrian was struck, a minor, and hospitalized and had pins in his leg due to excessive speeding from a driver. So these are the sort of things that I do not think we need to continue. I know there are lots of spots like this on the west side, but Keokuk to me is a place where you have two schools and you have, it's being used as a primary cut through area, including the Oak Hill as a whole. So to me, if we're going to be a climate friendly city and look at how we're going to create neighborhoods that are walkable and bikeable, the ones that are closest to amenities should be prioritized for safety. All neighborhoods should be safe, but we have low-hanging fruit in terms of how we manage traffic. And there are some concepts that have been worked on in different countries where traffic is managed to go around neighborhoods and to be on major thoroughfares rather than being cut through neighborhoods. And it really creates a better environment for people to walk and bike. So I'd just like to highlight that. And then the other thing was getting the outreach on the website for the local road safety plan. I just happened to, I kind of struggled to find the link. It wasn't on the section of the website under local road safety plan. So just in terms of outreach, getting the links available and ready for people. And I mean, I just had a difficult time finding it. And then the stakeholder groups, I'd like to second what Ben Peter said, and in that those organizing those groups and informing people? And how does this relate to our active transportation plan? The safety data, and, you know, is there some sort of cross-pollination there? And then the other thing is the active transportation plan that was done for Healdsburg had a focus. I mean, the local road safety plan for Healdsburg had an active transportation focus. And I think based on the fact that we have committed to carbon neutrality, our local road safety plan should actually have a vision for creating safety for active transportation as a main thrust. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Veronica. And I'm glad you brought that up about the web page. I was actually going to mention that at the end of this comment section. If you go to cityofpetaluma.org/LRSP, as in local road safety plan, I'm going to share my screen for a second and just show people where to click. And I hear you that maybe it was, can you guys see my screen?
Mm-hmm.
So if you click on this public engagement tool, so please share your experiences through this public engagement tool, then it'll take you to this page where you can do the interactive map and project survey. Is that what you were having trouble finding?
Well, the fact that I saw it, I had it in an email, and then the fact that when I went to the website under local road safety plan, it wasn't on that page. So it's like if you actually go in cold without going to, I don't know what page it was. So if you just if you just Google local road safety plan, you don't get to the fact that we had this event tonight. So, I mean, I was busy doing something else, so I just typed in.
Yeah.
I didn't have all my information, and then so I was just it was just a side note, because I know that, you know, not everyone has, you know, either the email or the link or whatever, and they usually just Google it and then they try to find it. So that's what I did tonight. So that's why I was late.
Okay, great. Well, we really appreciate that feedback. Thank you. And we'll try and make it more accessible and easy to find for people.
Excellent. Thank you so much.
Thanks. Okay, next we have Ben Peters. Again, Ben, did you mean to raise your hand again?
Hello.
Hello.
Oh, hi. Sorry, Celeste. This is Nicole Camarda. I'm Ben Peters' wife. I just wanted to make a comment about the proposed 5th Street Bike Boulevard and the possible connection through Keokuk. There were not any safety enhancements on Keokuk with the new paving project, so I just want to highlight that. But I especially want to flag Magnolia. I guess the east end of Magnolia, when you come off of Keokuk heading towards Payran, is really dangerous. There's no sidewalks or pathways on either side. There's a veteran who rides a motorized scooter every day with his dog up and down that street, and cars have to go around him. There's fence, like, I think there's city fences, these white short fences with like signs on them that stick out into the street past the PG&E poles, that we have to go around with the stroller. We can't get up on the sidewalk. So any safety improvements on Magnolia would be huge, because we would like to see a lot more active transportation happening once that 5th Street Bike Boulevard is installed and people are going over Keokuk to access whatever they would like on the northern side of town. That being said, I would also like to flag Petaluma Boulevard North, specifically the trail. It's possibly Denman Reach or whatever goes under the Petaluma outlet over bridge there and goes along the side of the river. It looks like there's a trail or possibly a proposed trail, but whatever can be developed or improved there, so pedestrians and cyclists and other people utilizing active transportation can get off of the road and avoid the traffic and have a safer route there. Thank you. That's all. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And I do not see any more hands. Is there anybody else? Oh, Eris, hold on one second. Okay, Eris Weaver, go ahead.
Okay, thanks. This is Eris Weaver with the Sonoma County Bicycle Coalition. I just wanted to share a little quickie story of something that happened to me this week that touches on sort of the reliability of the data. I was the victim of a hit and run while I was riding my bike. It didn't happen here in Petaluma. And what it took for me to be able to report that with the police was quite a long and involved and frustrating process. And one of the things that I know is how many collisions don't get reported. Now, true, the really big injury and big death, dramatic ones tend to, because, they're big and dramatic and somebody calls 911 and people come, but so many other things just go unreported. I know of at least one other person who was hit on a sidewalk in the same block where I was just hit, who again didn't report it. And I hear these stories from people all the time. So there's a limitation, right, to the data. It's only what actually got reported to police and made it into the database. So there's so many near misses and other incidents that that are missing that we don't know about. And so I guess the take-home message on that is just being aware of that's just data from one particular source, but then also looking at, are your systems in place in the city to make it easy for people to report issues when they happen and make sure that they get recorded, that police reports are taken so that it ends up in SWITR, so that it ends up in these kind of reports. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Eris. And Petaluma resident, I had seen your hand up a second time. Do you have anything more you'd like to add? Okay, I guess not.
No, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay,
yes.
I was muted.
Okay.
I just want to just kind of inform you that I utilize Golden Gate Transit, and this morning I caught the bus at the intersection of Petaluma Boulevard, I believe it's South, and G Street, in front of the Whole Auto Repair the Turkish restaurant there. And it's great. The construction workers were being very professional, but it's it's a major construction project, and it's not really conducive to as a bus stop right now. And I know that's just temporary, but are you corresponding with Golden Gate Transit, asking them to inform their bus drivers to be aware of that construction zone and to look out for passengers? And if not, I recommend that you do.
No, we've been, for the Petaluma Boulevard South Road, that we work with our transit manager, Jared Hall, as well as we've been in close contact with Golden Gate Transit as well for all the bus stop relocations, because they're the primary user out there.
Okay, great, thank you. And just one other observation I've made, just as a pedestrian, at the corner of East Washington Boulevard and Petaluma Boulevard, it's a major intersection in terms of pushing the pedestrian walkway button. That doesn't seem to be very pedestrian friendly. It just seems like, and I've just noticed that it's a very, very busy intersection, and sometimes people try to jaywalk, and that's just not a good place to jaywalk. And if you just take a second look at that, that timing, I don't know how that works and how you assess that timing, but it just seems like you push the button to walk, and you have to wait quite a long time before you get the walk signal. Just an observation.
Thank you. We'll look at it.
Okay, thank you.
I have,
And then
oh, sorry, I have one thing to add. We just updated the website. We did add the collision density map and the list of the stakeholder working group. So those are on the website now where you can download them.
Okay, great. Thanks, Kathy. And then I see one more hand raised, Tom Lewis. Tom, go ahead when you're ready.
Hi, thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, great. Sorry I came on late. So it's possible that you've gotten some comments for the pedestrian traffic issues that we're having over here at 6th Street between Mountain View and I. And I've lived here in the block for 42 years and raised children here. And there is a blind hill that comes from Mountain View at the start of 6th Street heading north or heading west on 6th Street. And it's a blind hill. And many of the residents here are, I'll use the word frightened to cross the street at the top of the hill or to cross the street on either side of the hill. There's children growing up here, as my children did. There's elderly people here. We have to cross the street at Mountain View to cross 6th or walk, which would be the equivalent of 2 blocks down to I Street to safely cross the street. And in I Street, of course, drivers are not adhering to the stop signs. It's quite frightening at the corner of 6th and I, especially at 8 o'clock in the morning. Our neighborhood group has met and we've made comments and we're going to form some type of an approach. But I'm sure you get a lot of details around town about these types of situations that are very specific for neighborhoods. And my question for Jeff is, Jeff, how can we as a group in our neighborhood meet with the engineers in the city to express our local or our micro concerns about safety in our particular side, in our particular neighborhood? I'm sure you're getting a lot of information from all over town, but hoping that there's an opportunity to sit down with the engineers, maybe walk to the hill, see how the traffic behaves, go down to the corner of 6th and I and see how precarious it is, and discuss solutions that the city engineers could agree with or at least go along with. So that's hoping that we can find a way to, as a group in our collective neighborhood, meet with an engineer and actually walk the area and see what's going on.
Yeah, I would say just start out by reading. I mean, I have your information now, so I would say just reach out to me as a city engineer, Jeff Stutzman, or our traffic engineer, Ken Eichstead. We're both traffic engineers, and we both love to do this type of work. So we're absolutely willing to meet you out there, have a meeting, talk over the phone, whatever you need. I mean, there are problems, but sometimes those specific issues, we only know if people come and tell us. So we appreciate all the information we can gather, because that's how we start to fix a lot of this stuff, is by identifying the issues.
I appreciate the open door and really applaud the effort to map out all of our concerns. I had fun up until 12:30 a.m. last night, putting in comments and identifying our neighborhood. And I really commend you for getting us on that start and getting this whole thing started with Zoom tonight. I appreciate it. As late as I came on. Appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Great. Thank you, Tom. Okay. And I think I saw, well, I don't see any more hands up at this point. Is there anybody else who would like to comment or ask a question? And again, I'll just give the website cityofpetaluma.org/LRSP, as in local road safety plan. You can go there and then click the public engagement tool link, and you can go and add comments and fill in the map and all of that stuff for any of you who maybe, speaking in a public forum like this isn't your thing. We still definitely want to hear from you. Oh, and I just see that Veronica popped up again. Hi, Veronica, go ahead.
Thanks so much. I just had a quick question. I just realized that the other neighborhood next to the high school also just had striping and paving done and noticed an uptick in speeds. I just really I'm wondering what the strategy is for striping and what are the outputs for some of those activities, because you have two different areas that are, you know, giving you the same feedback. So I don't know how that is undone once it's done, but like for if you look towards the high school and they said that there was this, you know, great increase, and if it's flat, and then why is there, you know, striping? I would like to know what is the outcome that you're trying to achieve. If we're trying to slow down traffic, to me, a straight line says go faster.
I think it's all those, in kind of some of the stuff we talked about tonight, it's all those engineering tools that we have in our tool bag to do it. I mean, there's multiple ways of identifying it. I mean, some of it is being able to narrow the lanes to kind of create more friction. Obviously, that friction tends to slow vehicles down. Like B Street, we've reduced the lanes down to 10 feet so we can get a full bike lane in there. Kind of both the benefit of having a full bike lane and then also have narrow lanes that just, again, create that friction. Also, having striping helps improve visibility. So it helps improve those stop markings, those stop signs, those crosswalks. So it's more visible to everybody so they can see them. So a lot of roads are in such bad condition that the striping doesn't last long and it's hard to see. So being able to provide those markings is the ultimate goal. And it also kind of goes hand in hand with the quick build of being able to, in some of those intersections where you have these wide turns, to be able to neck those down, create inexpensive bulb outs to improve the crossing distances for pedestrians and slow vehicles down. So, I mean, it's a variety of solutions.
Okay, I just love to there are many neighbors on Keokuk that would love to explore some solutions for some of the things that have been created as a result of the striping and to slow traffic down on Keokuk, however that happens, but we need to do it. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Veronica. All right, I do not see any other hands raised. If you think of something later, or maybe you didn't feel comfortable sharing tonight, we still would love to hear from you. So please go to cityofpetaluma.org/LRSP and let us know your thoughts. Kathy and Jeff, I'll hand it back over to you guys.
Thank you, everybody. Appreciate everybody coming out. Thank you for all the great input. And even for those who are not on the call, it will be recorded. It will be available online for anybody. And thank you all for all the valuable input that we have. So look forward to this thing coming back to council July 18th. And we will, as a city, be submitting the HSIP Cycle 11 on before September 10th. So another great project for the city.
Great. And sorry, go ahead, Kathy.
Oh, I was just going to echo Jeff's comments. Thank you, everyone that tuned in. And we're also going to post the recording of the meeting on the website so you can watch it again. And we're gathering all your public input and seeing how we can incorporate it. It'll all be summarized in the LRSP, probably in an appendix because we've got so much public comment, but we really do appreciate everybody taking the time and you know, really wanting to improve roadway safety in the city of Petaluma. So it takes a village. So I appreciate the community coming out and your time tonight.
Yeah, definitely appreciate everybody's time tonight. As I said earlier, we know it's not easy to get away during an evening for most people. And so we appreciate you coming out. Also, I'd like to encourage everybody to go to cityofpetaluma.org/subscribe and sign up for our newsletters. We do a weekly community update newsletter where we put out a lot of communication around different safe streets projects we have going on, this local road safety plan. So it's a really great way to stay up to date, and also follow us on social media. And I think that's it. All right. Thanks, everybody. Have a great night.
Thank you.